Hi, I'm Mrs. McDonald, and I am here to read another story to you today. Today I'm in the fancy room of a fancy girl who loves sparkles, and I wanted to be in this room when I read this story because it's about Fancy Nancy, and Fancy Nancy loves to be sparkly. I'm not a sparkly person, so I thought I'll sit in a sparkly room and I'll borrow some sparkles while I read this story. See, do I look right, Fancy? Look at this pillow. It's sparkly. Oh, everything that these little girls that I love have seems to sparkle. So here we go. Fancy Nancy. Oh, a dog. Oh, hello, Haley. The dog isn't very sparkly. The dog's a lot like me. Fancy Nancy by Jane O'Connor. Pictures by Robin Preiss Glasser. This is my room before I made it fancy. I think it's pretty fancy as it is. I like it like that. Oh my, it's much more fancy now. I love being fancy. That is fancy. My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I like to write my name with a pen that has a plume. That's a fancy way of saying feather. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles. There's a lot they don't understand. Laced trimmed socks do help me play soccer better. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick in frilly toothpicks. Look what she did for her daddy. She made her daddy some sandwiches with frilly toothpicks. A princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. Ooh, I don't think her sister is as fancy as she is. What's a fancy girl to do? I asked my doll, Maribel. Her full name is Maribel Lavinia Chandelier. Then I get an idea that's stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and stick it on the fridge. What does that say? Learn to be fancy with lessons from Nancy. Start today. Easy, fun, free. She really wants them to come, doesn't she? So soon there is a knock on my door. My family saw the ad. They want to get started right away. So here's her lesson. Plain would be yellow, fancy would be gold. Plain would be leather, fancy would be patent leather. Plain would be glasses, fancy would be sunglasses. Fancy stuff. The trouble is, my family doesn't own any fancy clothes. Look at this. They're a lot like me. I'm not very fancy. That's okay. I go find. What is that fancy word? Oh yes, some accessories. Ooh la la. My family is posh. That is a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight? How about dinner at the King's Crown, Dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. Oh, look at Daddy. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. Wow, they're fun parents, aren't they? That looks like a lot of fun. Maybe you can do that. Do you think you could do that? Could you get all dressed up and go out real fancy? Let's see. When we arrive at the King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. Oh, I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up and call each other darling. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing! My mom knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, merci. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Oops! I trip! Oh no, look! I slip! Oh no! The tray does a double flip! Oh, a mess! Oh my goodness. I don't feel fancy anymore. I want to go home. After I get all cleaned up, I put on my dressing gown. Those are fancy words for bathrobe. I feel much better. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents, thank you for being fancy tonight. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. All I say back is, I love you, because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. Aw, isn't that precious? I like that book. I might not be fancy, but you know, I might like to be a little fancy once in a while. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. I hope you enjoyed it.